See, here's a problem that people don't think about. When you talk about the top 5, it's hard to round out people who are number one at their position. You know what I'm saying? Because then we go into like, but Tim Duncan is definitely like in that top
10 for sure. But what I say about Tim Duncan is
maybe top 10.
Yeah, what I say about Tim Duncan, and a lot of times, like, you know how it is with Hove too, right? Hove is so great and do things a certain way. People try to find a way to pick at it. A lot of the arguments people make for other people, when it comes to Kobe, they don't, all of a sudden it don't matter no more, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Kobe 9-time All-NBA defensive team. Like the Kobe, the teams he had to lead in his prime to get somewhere. The team he went to a back-to-back championship with, well, 3 championships in a row, one with 2. He don't get the benefit of the doubt during those conversations. And
but I already told you why.
Yeah.
And we can say it on the air. You know, I don't care.
Yeah.
But, you know, if Kobe did 2 things, well, he did one thing and the 2 things happened to him. Well, I mean, one thing happened to him. He did one thing in terms of he started shifting everything towards business when he retired. Mm-hmm. Because if Kobe wasn't shifting everything to business, then you can hurt your feelings, whatever. He was a selfish motherfucker. That's just bottom line. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that for a fact, personally being in the room with the motherfucker. Mm-hmm. But that's also part of his greatness, right? Because everybody's like that. So, but if Kobe hadn't changed his image in terms of focusing on business at the end and making himself more accessible to other players, and then him passing away, people would not be fearful of being canceled in this current climate, and they would say their piece. Now, would that take away from his greatness? No. But we all know how people use their personal feelings towards somebody for sure. Towards voting. Like Shaq, you know what I'm saying? Right?
You
know, well, I ain't talking about Shaq.
Well, I'm talking about Shaq not being unanimous MVP.
Like T.O. Yeah. Well, Jordan is number 1 of all time just because you can't be the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and not be unanimous.
Yeah. Like, look, I'm talking about Shaq had one guy voted against him on purpose.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just because of personal reason. Right, like you were saying.
But I'm just giving other examples. Like, you can't be MVP and Defensive Player of the Year and not. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. So that's where we come in, where we have the issue, like, because I feel like you think about the greatest Lakers of all time. Mm-hmm. You know, they have a long lineage of guys. You know what I'm saying?
They're a team by itself that no other team could match up with. Right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Right? It's them, Boston. You know, and I'd probably say right behind them.
Well, you know,
and it wouldn't be like right behind. It'd be like the Lakers, then the Celtics, then everybody else. Like,
hold on,
you know,
somebody. Where my phone at, man? Literally today, I saw something that had like an all-time starters list with this same thing we talking about. Like literally today. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. No, I can't find it. They had the Rockets all-time starters. They had 76ers.
I was thinking about 76ers too.
Yeah.
Cause, you know, like Moses Malone, like people don't know, like Moses Malone is unguardable.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, Chuck and Dr. J sat down and was talking back and forth and having a conversation. And he talked about that same story with Moses Malone. Moses made him cry because he called him fat.
Yeah, like, listen, man.
And helped him get in shape.
Moses was, you got to see.
And started out of high school.
Man, listen, you got to see the pictures and the videos, man. Like, it was a grown man. Like, it was crazy, you know. But, I mean, again, people never saw Akeem Olajuwon play alongside Ralph Sampson before Ralph Sampson had just physical injuries. They were, man.
that would have made Hakeem the best power forward ever.
For sure.
Right? Instead of top 3 center, top 4 center.
Like,
but
it's a lot, man.
Yeah. But that 75 list, you know? Because like I said, I still don't think AD deserves it.
I tried to print that with just the names, but, you know, they got the pictures. I was like, man, I'll be here all day.
Yeah. And, you know, so I don't really, it was dope watching all those things. That 75 ultimate draft that the TNT and them did was dope. We ain't gonna talk about that.
I didn't see that yet. I need to see that.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. But yeah, it's just interesting because when I'm watching everybody talk and people leaving people out, but I'm not even arguing with stuff as much anymore because it's like I want to have these conversations with people who actually know what they're talking about. So if you're gonna be opposing, at least you can have some basketball takes, and then I can come back at you with, all right, name one other star that in his prime had to play with Sasha Vujacic, Smush Parker, Kwame Brown in his prime and had to get them to the playoffs, right? Against 50-win teams.
I can name one.
They're like, when?
I can only name one.
Bron. Right?
That first game was
you know what I'm saying?
When they got to the finals, everybody's like, hi. I was like, what y'all hype for?
Yeah.
It's over.
Exactly.
I said, they haven't even played game one yet. I said, trust me, it's over. They won't win a game.
Exactly. So, but all those things is bias based. I don't think you can, if you got to find somebody who's going to look at it without their own personal bias, right? And that's going to be tough because basketball is what it do. If you watch the game for real, it's going to strike some type of emotion. And you're going to get attached for a player story, like something you can relate to. Like, it's just the way the game goes.
But that could be said for NFL. I mean, everybody gets attached to stuff, but the problem that major sports has, and when I say major, I'm talking about college football too, college basketball. There are people voting on this shit that don't have anything to lose. You know what I'm saying? Like, there should never ever be writers, certain media correspondents voting on shit. It shouldn't be. Yeah. It should be current and former players.
And coaches.
Current and former coaches, current and former GMs. That's it. Just that's it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let the fans for the NBA, let the fans vote for their people, you know what I'm saying? But
for the social media vibe.
You know what I'm saying? But no.
Yeah.
The media, we all know that if you have a bad game or, you're going through a divorce and, somebody you shun somebody for an interview, they're going to get you back.
They're going to write about it. They're going to put it forefront and everything.
They're going to get you back.
Yeah, that's how it is. But then we got Dragic to BK, Simmons close to a debut. The Brooklyn Nets front office been working. They've been working. That's a big pull. LeBron being Bron. Bron was being shady too. He was calling, the Rams GM had wore that shirt that said "F those picks," and Bron was like, "See, that's my dog right there, right?" And then this week, right at the All-Star break, he was calling Sam Presti MVP for his eye for talent.
Yeah.
And then he was naming off several other GMs, and everybody was like, he's naming everybody but Pelinka.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
But I know people saying like, he's got to own up to it, right? But nobody knew Russ was going to lay an egg like this. Everybody, when you think about it, when it first happened, you were questioning like, dang, will it work? But you were saying,
Russ is great. Though.
You were saying that like, he's going home. He's going to play hard. He'll play smart. We didn't know he was still going to be, a mental midget. We didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? But he's been playing better of late. But when you sign on LeBron, it's about winning champ. He's 37.
Yeah.
What you think he came there for?
And they talk about you could have had John Wall. All you had to do was give up one pick with Russ.
A draft pick that's going to be the 24th pick in the. Come on, man, stop playing. This is stupid. And so we are live, right?
Yeah, and we missed out on DeMar DeRozan.
Yep.
For the same reason we missed out on Ty Lue.
Yep, because they didn't want to give him 1 year, an extra year. Ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So you
ain't no Kyle Lowry, the same thing.
You dropped the ball
4 times
on so many levels, right? And so let me show you this. I wrote this down, man, and this wasn't part of your agenda, but I just had to bring this up, man. I'm so sick and tired of people jamming on these players, talking about there being GMs, right? Okay, so we all know since day one, the star players have always had a say-so in management. The successful ones. The ones that were quiet and didn't say anything, they ain't win nothing, right?
And even on a smaller scale, the best players in college, in high school, got a good relationship with their coach.
Yeah,
the coach listened to them a little bit too. Just a few things. That's the way it goes.
Listen, everybody's treated fairly, but not equally.
Yeah.
It's different. John Thompson said, someone asked him once before, like, why did you guys stop to eat at such and such place when all the players wanted to eat at another place? He says, Pat Ewing said he wanted this, so that's where we going. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's just how it goes. It's been like that since the beginning of time, and it's going to continue to be that way. That's just the pecking order of sports. But I'm so sick and tired of these people out here dumping on these players, talking about they want to be GMs and this and that, whatever. Well, the people that are GMs currently, that's their only job, to be a GM, and they're not good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have some sort of success and it's based on your star players, then you got to roll with it. And you got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to roll the dice and say, you know what? We have a short window. Boom. We can always rebuild. That's just how it goes. You think about if you didn't grow up in the era of Jordan, and I ain't talking about you guys out here now that were 2-3 years old, talking about you ain't see Jordan. You don't know. We all knew that Jordan had a 1-year deal because he had 3 1-year deals back to back to back. They didn't want to pay Pippen. We all knew that because we were watching this stuff as it transpired. Dennis Rodman was on 1-year deals, right?
Mm.
And Last Dance comes out while we're sitting home with COVID, lockout, and now everybody gets a chance to see what the real basketball fans and players knew back then was that the general manager got on a power, got in a power struggle with these guys and said that, you're done. His quote was, players don't win championships, GMs do, right? Okay. So you tell Phil Jackson, who's considered one of the greatest coaches of all time, before the season, no matter what you do, 82-0, you're still not gonna be coaching us next year.
Right.
You tell Jordan, who's the greatest player of all time, that you're not coming back. Robin, who's probably the 4th, 5th best rebounder of all time, two-time defensive player of the year, 7-time rebounding champ, 5-time champion. You can't come back on a 1-year deal. Scottie Pippen, who's one of the top 50 players, top 75 now, we're not paying you. So what happened to the Bulls when they all left?
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that you wouldn't run it back one more year and then let these guys retire in grace as Bulls?
Mm-hmm.
So where's the loyalty? Where's the discredit that they deserve? But we don't hear about the GMs now because you know what? He's somewhere
in the back.
He's somewhere in the back. Nobody knows where he is.
See, that's where, shout out to Rich Paul.
Yeah.
Because I know today, right? If I knew that being a GM or being in the front office of basketball was a possibility for me, because I feel like I can't do that job. And I'm sure there's some peers of mine that play basketball and that are doing things, probably coaching somewhere, that felt like, man, I could do that job from a player's perspective and from a business perspective. If I knew that was possible for me, I would have tried to go into that direction too. And that'd be a whole different space. Because like you said, how are some of these guys getting that job? Nepotism. Right? Already having access in there because that's a money room in there. Those guys sit up there with the suit and the ties, right? And the $500, $2,000 cufflinks, making the decisions, not really having any understanding of how the game really goes.
Yeah.
But that's why I salute Rich Paul. If I was 18, 19 right now, and I could look at basketball and kind of like, all right, if I can't make it pro, and that's any level pro, overseas or whatever else, but I can still have my foot in the game and I can find a way to be James Jones, I'm going to do that. Because again, you said.
But again, a guy like James Jones only got the job
because he played.
He had so many years in the league, ended up with Miami. Pat Riley endorsed him. LeBron endorsed him. So he got a shot. You know what I'm saying? Elton Brand is with Philly. Why? So many years in the league. Duke guy.
Exactly.
So it's different. So you got to work your way up. But
for sure.
it's, you know,
And even then,
Jerry Krause came from baseball.
Exactly. And look at Jerry Krause, man. He looked like Penguin off Batman.
Right. So as much credit as everybody gives him for assembling the Bulls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you get discredited for the collapse?
Right. Exactly. Because it was like a no-brainer. And like you said, ego. People are greedy. People never know when enough is enough.
Right.
But that's why I look at it now to even when we watch the Wizards and other organizations that are failing and should be doing better. And I'm like, I know I could do a better job. And so that's why I'm happy to see Rich Paul moving, because eventually somebody's going to be in there and they're going to start seeing it, because we know Bron going to go for some ownership.
Yeah, people
they're going to have
people are killing Rich Paul because, you know, he made certain moves, whatever. Yeah. But Agent's been doing this since day one. Mm-hmm. This is nothing new. He just happens to be in the limelight a little bit more. I mean, Leon Rose is the GM of the New York Knicks.
They said they don't even see Leon.
Come on, man. Like,
I got to send you the link to Clutch Academy.
Okay.
It's a TV show on BET. The first 2 episodes on YouTube. And this is what making me feel like, yo, Rich is motivating me now for what we doing out here. It's gangster. It's gangster. It's gangster. Mm-hmm. It's like how all of his clutch draftees and how they're going through the draft process, how he gets them prepared, what he does on a day-to-day basis, and like seeing inside each of their journey to get there. It's dope. It's dope. So, you know, you got the list. So I think we go ahead and get ready.
Okay.
Podcast going. We're going to start at 5, 4, 3, 2.
King and Yates, they bridging the gap. From the US to Dubai, put pins on the map. Ball is life, and that's a fact. And a baller's life, about that exact. King and Yates, they bridging the gap. From the US to Dubai, put pins on the map. There's a time to score and a time to assist. Ain't no I in team, let the winning commence. From generation to generation, game don't stop. The new and old school got the game on lock. It's all legendary, it's all necessary. We all been all-stars before February. And after that, King and Yates, after racks. But really trying to get some wins, not just padding stats. 2 basketball lovers through heaven.
Yes, sir. Bridging the Gap, episode 15. We back in action. What it do? What's up? How we doing, big dog? How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm good. I can't find my water, man. Shit. Where's our assistants tonight?
Listen, we in here dolo. It's just
naked in here tonight.
Me, you, and a bookcase back there, and some old Jay-Z playlist.
That's crazy. I mean, you know.
But the show must go on, man.
Yeah. Then I hear your boy blasting, you know, in my headset, you know, and then I'm like, wait a minute, all that talk we just.
No, it go on.
I'm just saying, man, if you wasted all that.
Look.
If I wasted all that oxygen for nothing, I'll be mad as hell.
For those of you that listen on the audio, we usually, last episode I gave you a little bit of a teaser because we're starting to put our behind the scenes. We're sharing our behind the scenes, but we only share it on YouTube. So those of you that listen on the audio, we encourage you to go to YouTube as well and watch and listen, because we put a little bit, probably about 5 to 10 minutes of extra content that you might not get, that you won't get anywhere else but on YouTube, of some candid talks from me and Coach, good info. But, you know, check it out. But with that being said, BTG Nation, what's up? The young OG, you guys know the triple OG. We're here live in Dubai. And for all of our newcomers, Dubai is where we are from the U.S. We are here building our basketball brand called Hoop Mountain Dubai. It's Hoop Mountain DXB on Instagram, hoopmountain.ae online, all that good stuff. Check us out. Send us messages. Make sure you like, subscribe to everything for BTG Nation, and, you know, and lock in with us. But I saw something on your face like you had something to say, man. What's going on?
I mean, can we just get started?
We started already.
I'm just saying, like, you know, that long intro, like, shit, man.
Nah, because we got to make sure we plug the brand, you know, because people forget we got people that come in for the first time. You know, we get like 6 new listeners every time.
And that's great.
Yeah, they got to know where to go, man. We got to have some patience, man. Come on, man. We trying to raise a flower from the concrete, a rose from the concrete. You know, odds stacked against us. But like you said, like, let's get right into it, though. This past weekend, All-Star Weekend, I don't have my snoozer button on here yet. Put me to sleep. We got to get one of those. They said it was the most boring All-Star weekend ever.
Them dudes probably just heard this all night.
Man.
Cleveland in February?
What?
The mistake by the lake? That's just not. Come on, man.
You saw a lot of furs. You saw a lot of big dog furs out there.
Of course, man.
Sure.
You know, of course. Just, oh, man. What can I say? Just, and it's being biased because everybody wants to be in a warm climate during winter.
Absolutely.
Come on, man.
And look where we at.
just being real, you know. And it's kind of chilly here. But,
yeah, you a little hoodie on.
But you can wear shorts if you need to. You know, Cleveland, man, it's just, is that somewhere you really want to go unless you're from there?
Family there.
Or you got family there. Is that somewhere you want to go and kind of like recharge your batteries for the last half of the season?
No, sir. And then it's top 75 weekend. Like you honoring the top 75 ever as well.
Yeah, them old dudes don't need to be in there in that cold weather.
I saw Kareem leaving early.
Yeah.
Granted, the dunk contest was trash. I guess Obi Toppin won that.
Yeah, I didn't even watch it. I just heard his name being mentioned, whatever. But
he didn't have bad dunks either. From what I saw, he didn't have bad.
I don't think anybody had bad. It's just how long it took them to deliver the dunks. You know, and if you can't do your dunk in 2 tries, then you got to do something else.
Yeah, you're killing the momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum is everything. Cap won the 3-ball contest, and then I think Jared Allen won the skills contest. What I did see people talking about was a new format for the Rising Stars Challenge. They like that.
Which is?
It's 4 teams.
Okay.
And they play like a tournament style, and then they have a target score they got to get to, and then you win one game, then you play the next game against. It's like a pickup a little bit.
So when you say rising, that's the rookies?
Rookies and sophomores. Like those guys.
Okay.
You know, first
so it's 40 of them.
Yeah. Or maybe like 8 on each team.
Okay, 30.
Something like that. Yeah, and then you got like Isaiah Thomas was coaching one team, Gary Payton was coaching one, and I forgot the other 2. Maybe like
Isaiah Thomas as in Zeke?
Yeah, Zeke.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was fun. Maybe even Charles Oakley or somebody, but it was good energy. You know, I ain't really got much to say about it. You know, shout out to Bron and Curry. Curry with the MVP, hitting like 150
Lord.
trey balls.
Lord,
letting them fly.
It's exciting to watch.
That's for sure.
But Steph, I just want you to know, you just set the game back another 5 years.
Man, they gonna be wilding out.
Every kid in the world is gonna be shooting those long tray balls, man.
Yeah,
you got to come in and do a tutorial and tell everybody how you started out.
That's for sure, and make that an emphasis because you said it before, but people they like gloss over it. But and Bron hitting the game winner, you know, on a fadeaway.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's good energy. Bron had an interesting weekend himself. You know, he went around telling the people, hey, look, on my farewell tour, any team that draft my son, you're going to have me too.
Yeah. Hey, it's smart. You know, hey, he just increased his son's draft status by 10 spots.
Hey, look, and we've been having talks privately about whether or not like Bronny, like, is he going to be in the league in the next 4 years? Like, is he going to be an NBA player or is he going to be like a G League guy in the next 4? Now it don't even matter.
Yeah. Oh, no, it don't even matter.
No.
Yeah.
Because anybody who gets Bron's farewell tour, tickets sold out every game for that entire season.
Yep.
Right? And then you got Bron and his son. And so that's a whole nother marketing scheme.
That's something that's never been done.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I'm just interested to see if Bronny's going to be Jeffrey Jordan or Marcus Jordan.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, you know, we talked about this before, and I personally think that his senior year, he's going to turn it up.
I hope so.
And be more aggressive.
Because that's next year.
But every year, he's been taking big steps. And you think about where he is right now, he was nowhere near this last year.
Yeah.
So I just think it's everything Bron does is calculated.
For sure.
I just think he's doing it. Let me ask you, is Amari, what year is he?
His senior, he graduating.
Yeah. So it's a setup.
Yeah. I think Bryce is going to be the best one.
Maybe.
I think Bryce is on some LaMelo.
Well, you know, the
Serena.
The youngest ones are always the better ones because they have a blueprint in terms of what not to do. So, but I think Bronny's going to be nice next year.
I hope so, man. Like, I want to see Bronny get good because I think of the sons from the Banana Boat, and we haven't seen Chris Paul, Young Buck yet, but other sons from the Banana Boat, I'm going with Melo, son.
Yeah, he's tough.
Yeah, Melo's son different. And he been thrown in the trenches the whole time. Like he in NY working on his game. He a Gaucho. He a Christ the King. He's the one that I'm betting on to be that dog, like mentality wise. He not growing up in the hills. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be dope. But I like Bronny too though. Like I like Bronny a lot, and I hope he does get there. Like I know, I'm for sure saying he's D1 and all that. I just wasn't getting the he's a pro in 2 years energy. I was like,
no,
a lot can happen in 2 years.
I can see it only because he's running as the 1. See, when you running as a 1, you ain't gotta be 30 a night. And like I said, that's why I asked you the most important question: what year is the other young buck?
Yeah,
the young buck's nice,
nice.
But when he leaves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Brian might go ham.
He got to though. Yeah, he got to. So
they just got upset too.
Yeah, I saw it. At 63-60. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I'm like, okay, Bronny, what's up?
Yeah, but yeah,
it's high school.
Yeah, it's high school, and star's a star.
Yeah,
and then you're that. It's like we talk about the big kids that we have coming through, and a kid may be 12 years old, but he or she is really tall, and they're afraid to step out of their shell and be aggressive because they want to fit in.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So he's in there. Do you really want to try to go ham when everybody knows LeBron's your dad? You know what I'm saying? So,
but that's what I'm saying. You need that type of dog in you. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if Bronny got the dog in him. That's what I've been looking for. Because my boy's been talking about it. It's just like, it's something missing. It ain't the fact that he can't do certain things on the court. Bronny can do everything. But it's that one motor that we looking to see if it tick or not. That ticker.
But also, you mentioned this last week when you talk about like your IQ.
Yeah.
Sometimes your shit is so high.
He's thinking too much.
That you can be like, you know what I'm saying? You see things that you might be on another level than everybody else on the floor. And so you're moving at a different pace. Yeah. So next year we'll see. If he's not a dog next year, then we'll know.
Yeah.
But so far, when you go from barely touching rim
to windmills,
and you hitting tray balls, and and
his body filling out.
You diming people off and all. You got it.
Yeah, we're gonna see. That's the last thing though, just the ticker. Because you are Bron's son. Right. And you've been there from the very, very beginning, right? We seen you courtside. So like, you know what I'm saying? We got those pictures of Wardell and all of them, and they all panned out great. Of course, they don't come under that same threshold in that.
But he got to get rid of that DeBarge haircut, though.
He in Cali, man. He in Sierra Canyon. Like,
he looked like, when LeBron dressed up for like SNL? And like, you can't, come on, man.
Hey, man, let that man live, man. He got it, right? Yeah, but Bron won't done though. Bron was, seen shouting out every GM from football to every GM in the NBA except Pelinka.
Yeah, look, man, you play this game to what?
To win.
To win it.
And Pelinka's in his last days, man.
Yeah.
Him, Kurt Rambis, his wife, all of them in their last days.
That's the real problem I have with your squad. Why is Kurt Rambis and his wife in the front office? Come on, man.
That talk right there just sparked some things. That conversation with a man in his business, and then, he brings along his wife, and that like creates some energy that messes something up. Like, I've experienced that a couple times.
Yeah.
At my young age. Like, that's an issue right there. You got to be able to separate some things and understand when not to bring home into business and vice versa, because it's messing us up.
Yeah.
Like, you was a bruiser for the Lakers, but that don't qualify you to be in the front office making decisions.
You were actually a coach too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were a coach too.
And we weren't good when you were a coach.
Right.
Either. Like, that's that nepotism. That's that, not nepotism. That's that relationship.
And truthfully speaking, the Lakers really were trash before LeBron started to go there.
What you mean? True, we sucked.
No, I'm serious.
We couldn't get a meeting with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, they got lucky in the draft because and they can't say that they did a great job because typically when you do a great job as a GM, every year we can kind of see you're consistent, but almost every every team in the league has had those opportunities where they had 2 or 3 guys in the draft that, were pretty good. But it's what you do with them. And so
we had terrible coaches. Think about it, we had Luke Walton, right? Like the first one, that's a terrible hire right there in his own right. And then from there, we didn't have any continuity. The only reason we got Bron was because Magic was on in the front office.
Yeah.
Right? And so we used Magic and then threw him out now everybody's seeing why he quit before anybody can make it. No, I'm getting out of here now. Now you see why he got up out of there.
Right.
But
that goes back to something else real quick, man, I want to touch on that's completely off your agenda, which is, please, everybody out there, stop throwing up this crap about when it comes to LeBron and the current players, this loyalty crap.
Yeah.
Man, this is a business.
Yeah.
Those people these owners, with the exception of 1 or 2,
like Mark Cuban,
will use you up and then trade you for a toaster. That's just bottom line.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
And we've been hearing everything the last year that he's been in the league that he was going to be a cornerstone of the franchise. They've been telling, he's been in the community, building relationships, putting together foundations, and they've been telling him he's been playing well, then they trade him the next day.
Yeah, got him out of there.
Yeah.
So, you got to do what you have to do. Because, I heard all these analysts this morning talking about how, they were talking about why everybody loves Mike. Because he had, the loudest ovation, in Cleveland, right? And in my opinion, it's not just because he was loyal to Chicago and he only played it. That's bullshit.
Hell yeah.
Jordan was most loved from everybody for a few reasons. One, he was a bad dude on the offensive and defensive end. He had a win-at-all-cost mentality. He didn't care if you was on a team. He'll fight you if he can get you to play better. All right? Jordan had swag.
Major.
Jordan had swag before AI came. And, and that's saying a lot when it comes to, and when I say swag, I'm not talking about just like, the outlandish stuff. Because
let me help you. Name one dude since Jordan that's ball-headed that's been cool.
GP, I gotta give GP credit.
But GP was the only reason it was cool is because Jordan was already there.
But
that's swagger.
When I was
ball-headed in the hoop and ring.
When I was about to say outlandish, I'm talking about like Walt Frazier.
Oh yeah. No, he was just sleek. Because what I didn't know was that he was in the Mary J. Blige video.
Who?
MJ.
Oh man, I know he was in a Michael Jackson joint.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in a Mary J joint because he was hugging Mary J and people was like, "Yo, Mike, you getting frisky?"
Right.
And they like, what you didn't know was Mike is in the walk. He had his walk, the walk you talk about. Everybody was copying, and he had the suit with the hoop earring and the Ferrari or whatever.
Well, that's what I was about to say. He made it cool for athletes to dress up in suits and come business attire. You know what I mean? He was one of the first dudes that would make the media wait for him to get completely dressed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he was just...
He had y'all wearing them damn brown suits.
Huh?
Brown three-piece joints with the vest.
Listen.
It was smooth.
It was smooth, man. Yeah, listen. But Mike had everything. Mike had all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? But he was just an iconic figure. He had the best shoes. So, like, it just... Mm-hmm. It was just different, but
it was bigger than basketball.
Right. He made it global. So, but these people talking about like loyalty, they have no idea that if the Bulls didn't luck up and get Pippen and Horace Grant in the same draft, right, and then make a few good free agent acquisitions, Jordan was going to leave.
Right.
But the difference is dudes were locked in the longer term contracts back then, and they couldn't leave as easily.
Mm-hmm. That's why we got to make sure that when we watch these free agency battles and these entitled players, they got to start doing their research and looking at what the Big O had to sacrifice.
Right.
What type of contracts guys had to sign in order for you to be sitting up here, sitting games out.
Right. And the contracts that these guys were signing later in their careers weren't even half of what guys are getting now. And so that's why people talk about loyalty. People talk about, because Kobe was in the Lakers for 20 years. Kobe threatened to sit out an entire year, 82 games, if y'all didn't give me some help.
Kobe was going to Chicago.
And he's supposed to do that because why not? He's giving his heart and soul to the organization. Why not help him win now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Tim Duncan did it, but San Antonio is different.
Yeah.
Different breed. But before that ownership or that leadership group got there, you see where George Gervin spent his last year in Chicago.
Yeah.
Got him up out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was the first big Nike guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he was San Antonio was only George Gervin.
Yeah.
So people do all this loyalty crap, shut up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't know what you're talking about because if that's the case, Jordan would still be working with the Wizards.
Yeah.
He came in, suited up, saved them.
Yeah.
And then they said, nah, we're gonna renege on our agreement.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there ain't no loyalty in this.
And that's how it gets to where it is now.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
That's why we gotta respect how Bron and KD and all those guys move. Cause it's like you can't move without me. And those guys don't do anything to discredit the game.
No.
Right?
No.
They just gonna be like, look, I'm gonna go where I'm respected and you're gonna do your job as a GM in the front office. Speaking of, like, since that move, Stephen A was talking about KD is your franchise. You need to make sure something happens, that they make moves or whatever. So since that trade, right? They trade Harden, they get Seth, they get Ben Simmons, they get Andre Drummond. And just recently, they confirmed on getting Dragic, right? And that's people forget, he was an all-star at one point.
Man, he averaged 19 just 2 years ago.
In the finals.
Right.
Right? And so you get a vet that can score, defend, control the pace of the game, and knows how to play playoff winning basketball at the same position to where if you don't have Kyrie, you can still make it happen, even though I think Kyrie will be playing. Adam Silver just came out publicly and was talking about how the law itself was dumb. It didn't make any sense. And they're trying to figure out how to make it work. So, it's about 6-7 weeks left in the regular season. I think they'll find a way to have him playing in the playoffs. But that's a big move for BK.
Right.
That's a big move. You got Patty Mills, you got Joe Harris, you got Seth Curry, you got Ben Simmons that'll be playing soon, Andre Drummond. You got the young buck Cam Thomas, who my boy James, who was on the show last week, he maybe last year in the middle of March Madness, he was telling me, he was like, yo, this kid at LSU, he might be the steal of the draft because he can really get to it. And the other night, I watched the Nets come back from down 28 and beat the Knicks in New York in the Madison Square Garden, and he had 18 in the fourth. He's a rookie, ball in his hands. And so they got a lot going on. How do you think they're going to fare in the playoffs?
Nets?
With that addition, what does that do for them now?
I mean, it definitely solidifies their bench. Because now Patty can go back to his rightful position in terms of coming off. And Dragic gives him just a little bit more size than Patty. But definitely that just creates a lot more space for Kyrie. KD, he don't need space.
He's good.
But just creating a little more space for Kyrie, that's going to wreak havoc on other teams because you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When he's on a roll.
Yeah, and I think people now understanding how much better they got defensively.
Right.
Like, they're lengthy now, where you just talk about KD, Ben Simmons, and Andre Drummond alone.
Well,
that space.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest pickup in defense was not only being lengthy, but Drummond is a big-time rebounder.
Big-time rebounder.
He doesn't want the ball, but he can catch and finish with his back to the basket.
And the second thing, listen to this Biggs. He's a great screener.
Right.
And he takes pride in screening.
Yeah.
Right. They asked him the question the other day. He's like, why do you think Seth is playing so great? He said, because I'm screening for him. Right. And you think about that, how many more open shots are you going to get for everybody else? Or even how many more slips are you going to get to the basket because you set a good screen with KD running off. Woo.
That's crazy. Somebody 6'11" setting a screen for somebody 7 foot.
And he really setting them up and coming off and catching the 1-2.
That's crazy.
Quick feet.
That's crazy.
BK doing what they doing. But staying within the NBA, Chris Paul out 6 to 8 weeks. We hate to see it, man.
I know it, man. I know.
Like it just always happens to Big Dog for a thumb injury on his right hand.
And I always place this blame on Doc Rivers, right?
Because he pushed him too hard, too much on his back. He's carrying him.
Just too much, man. And he hasn't been the same since he left the Clippers, man.
Health-wise, talking about health-wise.
Yeah, just injury prone just because, man, he can't get those years back. Like, he played too many minutes, no backup point guard, no true backup point guard. And now, even with Phoenix making this run, he's still playing a lot.
Too much.
He makes them go.
Yeah.
Like
and he does have more help, right? But
he still got to be out there.
Yeah. So but this is a much more mature Phoenix team, younger still with a lot of moxie, championship pedigree now because they've been there and they've seen it before. So it'll be a good test for them going into the playoffs because I think he'll be back right at the start of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, me as a Laker fan,
it's good for you guys.
I'm like, yo, we pick it up the way we're supposed to pick it up. Like anything can happen.
Yeah.
And as I said, this stuff just is going to add more to the legacy of Bron. But CP3, we want you to be healthy though.
Yeah, but it don't matter because AD's always hurt. So
yeah. Anyway. All right, this one from your era right here. My man from the Fab Five gave somebody the 5 fingers of fire, Juwan Howard. He smacked up the Wisconsin coach and the assistant coach in the how we call the handshake line at the end of the game. He got fined $40K and suspended for the rest of the regular season. So that's effectively 5 games. Wisconsin coach got fined $10K. And the assistant coach won't be fined. And then we got 2 players that got suspended for 1 game. You're the former coach. You've been in situations where you wanted to put hands on coaches and players alike. Like, I'll let you talk about what that situation was because you saw the press conference or saw.
So I heard the explanations, and let me say this: even though I understand what it means to walk by somebody and say, just don't touch me, right? Yeah. I understand that.
Well, you kind of lay the feel for them because we do got listeners that's here that they don't really know exactly what happened. They're probably gonna go back and
all right.
look.
Well, first, Michigan's losing by 14, 15 points, but they're still picking up 94 feet. Juwan said it's not a press, it's just our 5-man full court. But still, you're still picking up 94 feet, right? Other team has his subs in. And he calls a timeout to reset the clock to 10 seconds, right? To give them a little more time to, to manage the pressure or whatever, which I get it if you're not up 14. You know what I'm saying? Like, Juwan, you're supposed to tell your guys whether we're down 15 or 1, you play hard. That's because we're trying to, us playing hard to the buzzer sounds right now could help us later on in April. And you're the Wisconsin coach, you're telling your guys, this is a great opportunity for you to learn how to handle the pressure so you can get more time, and for you to bail them out and call a timeout and say that you didn't want to put them in that situation is BS to me because it's like, if there's only 3 or 4 seconds left, let it roll. Whatever happens, happens, and then that's a teaching point later on for those guys. But, for you to burn a timeout or 2 at the end of the game, that is Bush League. I'm sorry. It is. So you have every right to be upset. For those idiots that say, well, Juwan shouldn't have had his guys up. They're down. You don't want them to be quitters. Yeah. So now they're in March Madness if they get a chance, or the Big Ten tournament. And it's a 14-point game, but there's like 1:42 left on the clock. They just quit? No, you never know what can happen. You know what I'm saying? So, you tell those guys keep playing hard. The Wisconsin coach, you tell you guys you got to weather the storm. And so they're in the handshake line. You already know big fella's pissed.
Yeah.
And, he's not even giving you eye contact, not wanting to shake your hand. You let it roll. You send him a message later, you know what I'm saying? And then you guys talk it out or whatever. But for you to go and grab him and as if you're saying, you're going to listen to me. Like, really, he should have yoked you up then. That's why I was like, if you're going to put hands on somebody, you should put your hands on him. So they get separated. So why is your assistant coach coming in after you've been separated and he's got words to say? And so Juwan probably felt disrespected, like, you're just the assistant. I'm not even talking to you.
Yeah.
And so he put his hands on, which was completely wrong. Juwan had, the school has every right to suspend him. They do. But I understand, and that's the thing. And so for those out there saying that he should be fired, no. It's a second strike, it's heated, whatever. And we've seen coaches do worse.
Way worse.
It happens a third time, he's got to go. That's just bottom line. But it's a stressful year. They're not winning at the clip that they expected to win at. And, this is basically like get back for the other teams. You know how it rolls.
Yeah.
And so he's got to eat this, and his team's got to rally around each other for the next 5 games and give him a chance to return and then,
make some noise. Yeah. He gave him all 5 of them figures. It looked like he tried to grab his face. Like he wanted to punch him, but he just like, open hand because the punch is worse than the smack.
But he had to reach over so he didn't really get him, he didn't really grab him like he needed to. So, and I don't think any player should be suspended.
Yeah, that's what I saw too, because the adults escalated it, so they just come to the defense. But they're gonna do what they're gonna do with the suspension. And
people are gonna laugh when I say this. If you're gonna suspend the head coach of Wisconsin $10,000 and fine him $10,000 and fine Juwan Howard $40,000, you might as well not even give him a fine.
Yeah,
Juwan might have that in the locker room. Come on, man. That's just, like, these fines are ridiculous.
They just go into the Big Ten. It's going to their pocket.
Ridiculous.
It's going to be some my vacation money.
Ridiculous.
But I mean, it's interesting. That's a very, very it's interesting and it's not spoken on a lot because there are unspoken rules amongst coaches, right? As players, you got some things that you just don't do. And we've talked about some of those things before. But as coaches, it's a gentleman's thing. You guys understand what it takes to get up every day, every morning, prepare practice plans, deal with parents, deal with all these things in front office. And so you kind of, even in battle, you share that understanding. So there's certain things that you do that you don't do just out of respect. And then, that's when, so people may be watching, like, I don't understand how you even get that upset over something like that. It is some things you just got to understand you just don't do.
If the people that say, I don't understand why both coaches were upset, they've never really been in the heat of battle. When we say battle, we're not talking about life or death. We're talking about sports, of course. But when people put everything into it to get to that point that they're at in the Big Ten, you had to sacrifice a lot of your free time in order to be that good, and have that opportunity. So you invested a lot. And those coaches feed their families that way.
Yeah, that's
their career. That's their livelihood. So yeah, they're into it because we all know with the social media culture that we're in, those guys have 1-2 losing seasons, gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to be emotional. Because stuff like this happens every day in the regular workplace, and people do get terminated or people get reprimanded in some form or fashion. But it happens.
And some underlying issues there.
Yeah.
Short white guy grabbing a black guy and saying, no, you're going to listen to me. What gives you the audacity to think that I have to listen to you anyway? We're peers. And in some ways, I am a step or two above you when it comes to this basketball pedigree because I am an NBA champion, right? I've reached the pinnacle and I've coached in that spaces. But who are you to think that I got to stop and talk to you, right? And so that's what also causes that reaction because as a black coach, you got to take on some other things that come there. Wisconsin is Wisconsin.
Yeah. If you've never been to Madison, Wisconsin, then
yeah. And he is from Chicago,
right?
So I imagine that there is some things that you've grown up in battle between that beltway.
If a grown man tells you, leave me alone, don't touch me, you know what? Walk by him, say F me or whatever. And then talk to me the next day.
Yeah, we can do that.
And we can do that,
Watch your hand.
But don't you don't have to touch me.
Well, that's a perfect segue into like the biggest struggles we've had as players? Like, what are some of those struggles that you've dealt with? And I put a couple of them down. Like, what do they teach you? What was missing when it comes to like guidance from, you know, the coaches you've had? How does it influence you now? But all those type of things. Like, what were some of the biggest struggles you had as a player? You can start like whatever space you're hitting it from. It can be from you as a youth, high school, college, and then you as a pro. But like some of the biggest struggles that you've had to deal with that you know somebody can learn from.
Well, for me, one of my biggest struggles was, you know, slowing down and reading the game and not allowing outside influences to run my emotions too high or too low. And
what is an outside influence?
Outside influence could be family members,
Mm-hmm.
you know, friends,
Absolutely.
you know, certain fans. And don't get me wrong, most times, 99.9% of the time, those people mean well by you. But most times those people don't have a clue in terms of what you need to do for your job in the sport. And, you know, they want what's best for you. And so most times those are selfish wants. And it's not necessarily what your team needs. And so when you're listening to them too much, and then you're bumping heads with your coach, your teammates, the game plan, and you're not playing up to your potential, then you start to take everything personally and blame other people. And I was a big victim of that, you know.
Like, was that pro or high school or college?
All three. All three, you know. I'm just going to say, you know, when I was in high school, you know, I knew that as a freshman that I could easily start on varsity. And, you know, it was a weird dynamic down south because you could play on all three teams. So the freshman team would play on certain days. JV would play just before the just before the varsity boys would play, right? Because the girls were playing in another spot. So I played on all three teams. You know, I never forget this. You know, my cousin was from Detroit, so we were in the backcourt together. So freshman team, you know, I averaged like 25, 26. JV team, I averaged about 20. Then I come in off the bench for the freshman team, you know, I averaged about 7, 8 points.
Or varsity.
Varsity team, I'm sorry. And, you know, and so, you know, I'm just listening. I'm like, you know, shit, I really should be starting on varsity. You know what I'm saying? But coach knew that I had time. And when I mean time, I'm not talking about a year, just months. So the original plan was for me to come in just at the end of the season, the last 4 or 5 games of the regular season, and then get ready for the tournament. And I was going to be the starting point guard. But again, my dumb ass took it personally, listening to the wrong people, and started skipping school and all that stuff, whatever. And the day I was named starting point guard on varsity, grades came out. Yep, I flunked off the team.
Damn.
Idiot. That team goes on, wins the district, wins the region, goes to states.
Yeah. Because right now we work with kids, right? And even we're looking at 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and of course they're going to lead with emotion because typically they're not, and you know, we'll talk about parenting in the next segment, but a lot of times we aren't teaching our kids how to deal well with emotions or how to work, especially young men, how to work around it. So it's expected that you will feel that way, right? But do you feel like now looking at it, is there a time when you can tell that 9th grader who has that big future what the future plan is so that you can keep them in a way knowing that a kid is a kid and they're going to get in their own way?
Well, here's the difference in the way we approach things. Because, you know, and you know from experience, I kind of approached it this way with you guys and Coach Thomas. We were consistent. We were consistently a part of your life in some capacity.
True.
Whether, depending on the season, during the basketball season, our contact with you was up here. Off season, we were still here.
Mm-hmm.
We never dipped below average. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that's how we approach things at Hoop Mountain. You know, and that's why parents are comfortable with us with their kids, because they know that like we care about them off the court,
right?
Academically, socially, mentally, physically, all that stuff. So that's the difference. When I came up, once the season was over, and may he rest in peace, because my high school coach just passed away recently, dealing with cancer. But we didn't really see him that much, you know, off season. So we were kind of on our own, you know what I mean? And so when you don't have contact with somebody that's going to keep you in a certain structure and keep you hearing those positive, you know, things that you need to hear as reinforcement, it's easy to slide the wrong way. And, you know, when you gotta, listen, man, when you ask a kid to make major life decisions on their own, shit, you're setting him or her up for failure.
Right.
They should never be making decisions on their own. And so you go forward to what we're living in now. Too many people right now that are raising kids are too afraid to say what is truthful to their kids because they don't want to, one, be deemed as a bad parent. They don't want to have their kids upset with them. And, you know, but those generations of parents are forgetting how we were raised.
Yeah.
And that goes across every, you know, not everybody, but I'm saying the majority of, you know, the different cultural and ethnicities that we had in the US, where no, here's the law outside of your house. Obey the law, obey these rules, or there's going to be consequences. Inside the house,
got our own rules.
Those are my laws.
Yeah.
Those are my rules. There's consequences if you don't follow them. But we all turned out pretty good. You know what I mean? Of course, there's going to be one or two examples of people who fell, you know, on the wrong side of the fence. But overall, we all grew up to be pretty good, decent people. You know what I mean? No matter what kind of circumstance you came from. But now, you know, we worry about everybody. We worry about our kids' feelings too much. No, it's not. It's not their job to make decisions for us.
Yeah,
it's our job to make decisions for them.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that parent stuff because that's a whole different dynamic, right? But that happens to you in 9th grade?
Yeah, 9th grade.
So you got a lot of time to rectify that, right? So what did that cost you? And then how did you bounce back from that?
That cost me a lot of pride, man. Because, you know, the team the team was winning. So everybody's like, shit, they didn't need you.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when they got to a certain point and they lost, I could have been that extra piece to help us get over the hump. And, you know, and that stuff bothered me, you know. And so I come back the next year and, you know, completely changed positions because certain people graduated, whatever. So I start as a sophomore, Yates. I'm starting at the 4.
Man.
You know, I was skinny as you were.
Right.
You know.
But was that because he didn't trust you with the ball?
Nah, I mean, we had all of our size left. So we had a bunch of little guys left. So they had to play. They got to play somewhere. Yeah. And so
damn, you could have been the starting point guard one year to I get it.
Yeah. And then so then going into my junior year, you know, we got Craig Wilcox on our team. He was top 50 in the country. You know, we got, you know, Maurice Harrell, who's, he went to, you know, Georgia. He was recruited by 99 Division I football schools.
Tough.
Like, we used to see Bobby Bowden and those guys in the hallways all the time, right? We had Don Park. We had, just put it like this, our varsity was full of D1 football, baseball, and basketball guys.
Oh, that's athletes.
Just athletes, right? So we're going into my junior year, man. I'm averaging like 25 clip. I'm murdering them. Yeah. This is me not having that consistent structure in my life in terms of somebody knowing basketball. Because my mom and dad were divorced. My stepfather, great job helping raise me, but wasn't a basketball guy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I spurned several opportunities to go play in private schools. I'm staying here. I don't need that crap, right?
I did the same thing.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, different structure. Yeah, Coach Thomas.
Yeah, true.
So, you know, I'm doing well, man. And then listening to outside influences, I get a big head. And for those of you that are, a minority, you know what a big head is. Mm-hmm. You start being a little too arrogant. Mm-hmm. So I'm skipping school again. I'm living on the edge, Yates. You can miss, I think it was like 20 days of excused absences. Unexcused absences is still past 21, 22. I'm flirting with death.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I go into the final end of the season. Grades come out, Yates. I'm hustling, though. I'm hustling. I got everything in the drum. I get everything in on time. My mom set me up. My mom said, nah, he made it. But just tell him he didn't make it. It's just, he don't deserve it. I said, damn. So I ended up getting kicked off the team again.
Yeah.
So instead of having a follow through of, I had maybe a handful of D1s and stuff already. All these junior colleges start calling me, and then the whole talk around town was, he ain't gonna do nothing because he ain't serious. He ain't disciplined enough. He ain't smart enough. So that hurt me a lot when people calling me dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I might have done some ignorant things, but I wasn't dumb.
Right.
And so I remember my mom saying, it's up to you. What you gonna do? She said, this summer you don't have to work as much. And I'll work harder and work a little extra and send you to all those camps that you have been talking about going to before. Metro Index in Pennsylvania, BC All-Stars, Tifton, Georgia, Kentucky Blue Chip. Those are the big joints back then, and so I was like, all right, I gotta step up. And so, all that stuff this summer, I went and played. I still worked, whatever. Got my act together, got my grades back up, came in, was balling, my senior year.
What was the one camp that ticked it for you that you was like, oh yeah, I'm back?
I went to BC. I went to BC. And so the first time I went, I had to pay. And it was at the same week where there was something else big time going on. And so a lot of the stars weren't there. So I got top 20, right? And I remember toward the end, this is when I knew there was a difference in players, because even our guys didn't even get this. Othello Harrington was the number one player in the nation.
Oh, okay.
And they flew him in for the All-Star game. I said, what kind of... I said, well, you know what I'm saying? So I ended up being in that. And then that's where I met William Cunningham. We call him Six. We actually went to Temple together. And Cameron Dollar was there. I mean, there was a lot of guys that were there that I knew, and so went to that, man. And then the second one was coming up late in the summer, and I knew things were starting to change when they invited me to come for free. Oh shit, you know what I'm saying? So then, I went to that, man. And then, my senior year, my point guard, we call him Clutch, and you can see, why we call him Clutch.
Yeah.
2 seconds left or whatever, he's gonna knock it down.
Right.
Just a 3-point sniper, man. Like a big 6'4" guard. His older brother, we call him AG, his name was Ant Green, was like one of the first big point guards in Georgia, 6'4", 6'5", you know what I'm saying? And we were rolling, man. And I'm getting like 21, 22, like 10, 11 rebounds. And my boy Clutch is averaging like 32, Yates, killing, And he goes down with a knee injury.
Ooh.
Then my best friend, we play a few games. We're still rolling. We're still okay. We're a little shaky, but we're okay. He goes down.
Damn.
So we roll into the districts, and I'm like really the only, double-digit guy left. And I put on a show. We like 2 games and the chip game. I got like 38, 39. But just dummy. I go in a bucket that would have basically put us over. You know what I'm saying? It was a bucket that would have changed the momentum of the game to end it. Instead of me going in to dunk it, I go in and try to lay it up.
George Gervin.
And miss that joint. And everybody's thinking I'm just going to go over and just crunch it on somebody. I miss it. And we end up losing. Because the other team, they had these two white kids, like 6'7", 6'8". They was like, I was like, shit, like two Kyle Korvers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they got us up out of there. And I just remember riding on the bus home. And normally I'm back there with my big Lasonic box and everything. I ain't have it on, nothing. So I just got my head down. I'm crying. You know, my coach comes up to me, says, "You okay?" I said, "I'm just like, what am I going to do now?" Because everybody was expecting me to, you know, lead us to a deep run in the States. You know what I'm saying? So he was just like, just do what you've been doing. He said, you've been, you know what I'm saying, working your way back into things. Just keep working. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, it'll work out. And so, you know, thank God, you know, Johnny Williams, may he rest in peace, my AAU coach. I mentioned him before. Was still doing his thing. And, you know, I went to Nike and Nike camp at Clemson. And, you know, like I said, Temple had already seen me before. Dean Demopoulos, thank God he was around because he gave me a chance. He saw me play there and, you know, had coach and, you know, Jim Maloney come see me play down in Atlanta. I mean, so I still got a chance to do my thing, but it was shaky, you know what I mean? And I learned a lot, and I just knew I knew that if I ever got a chance to coach, that it's going to take me doing more off the court than on the court if I want to help kids like myself. You know what I'm saying?
So, and that's one of the questions. So, like, the biggest influences in your life, like, could they have done more, right? And then, because one thing that I struggle with is that, like, I only have my mom. My mom had no clue about basketball. We didn't have any basketball players in my family, period. I remember you saying your pops was a hooper, but he wasn't present.
Right.
And so but you had some type of lineage of, like, where the game would go and where you got your, you know, prowess from. But where your everyday people that you see, your coaches and all that, you need the guidance from there. You didn't get it.
Yeah.
So now we're at the point, it's like, what do you see? What is it that coaches who weren't players before, what do they miss when they're in this space? So, like, right now, like you said, you know that you got to do more off the court because of you in your time as a player. You know about the mental health stuff. You know about the things that a player goes through mentally when it's ups and downs that a guy who's coaching wouldn't know. Like, what is that those moments taught you?
That you have to really get to understand each player. Their situations.
You say that all the time too.
Their situations can be completely different. Even if this kid comes from a strong family background, they have a nice house, you know, mom and dad, you know, just a good wholesome family, that kid could be dealing with some things. So, you know, people look at grassroots coaches and say, oh, your job's easy. You know, that's why you only make, you know, $2,000-$3,000 a year for the work you do. But when it all boils down to it, you're a coach, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a mentor, you know, you're a psychologist, you know, you're a social worker. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this because, you know, oftentimes these guys that play for you or young ladies, if you're doing a good job in terms of listening to them and paying attention to them, they'll often confide in you in things that they won't confide in their parents with.
Right.
You know, and so you got to be there for them. And I'm sorry, like, it's a lot of extra sacrifice for you. But if you want that player to believe in you in that timeout and try their best to do whatever you want them to execute, you got to believe in them. You got to trust in them, and you got to work with them every day. This is bottom line, man.
They're kids.
They're kids.
And they're
man.
young. Like, that's the number one thing. Like, yes, we want to put expectations on them and push them because we see potential, but they are kids, and they do think in a way that a child would think because they don't know any better. They got to collect experiences, ones that you've already collected, and so they need your help now. So I think that leads me to the question is, like, how did you get out of your rut? Like, what did those moments, those struggles, the specific struggles about you getting in your own way with your ego, I would say, What did that teach you about yourself, and how did you get out of those ruts? Like, that's something that you probably still do now.
Well, one thing it taught me a lot about was self-awareness. And one thing I still struggle with now, I got a big mouth. Like, there ain't nothing that's going to come across my mind that I'm not going to speak to anybody. I don't care if it's Bill Gates, whoever. If I feel that it's the honest truth, it's only going to affect me, I'm going to tell you. Now, if it's going to affect someone else, one of my loved ones or friends, whatever, I might tone it down and keep my mouth shut. But anything in regards to me, I'm just going to say it. And that has gotten me into a lot of trouble,
right?
Over my lifespan. And so for me, it's just every day continuing to fight an internal battle and knowing that I can't talk to everybody in the same way that I want somebody to talk to me, because they get defensive, and they may not be as emotionally tough as I am.
Yeah. And that's important, right? That emotional toughness. And that's what you learn, because through everything, life is about ebbs and flows. You're always going to have your highs and your lows. And in sports, and we can speak about basketball in particular, you're going to be up and you're going to be down, and you're going to be knocked off that high horse at some point, somehow, some way. So you got to have some humility throughout that entire time. And so that's dope. I think my biggest struggle was confidence, because we were so, and you kind of got a fake confidence being from where we're from, because you're tall, you're black, you're male, and even if it's not just basketball, that if out on the street or just out in public, if you're looking weak, you know what I'm saying, you're just a poster boy for something to happen, somebody picking on you or whatever else. What was so interesting about where growing up in the DMV and in Alexandria is you're so close to some high level basketball, especially in the time that I was growing up. So you're seeing the Nike stuff, you're seeing all these different things. Like, I had no clue what basketball could really do for you at 14, 15, 16. Like, I'm just playing outside or in the rec, right? And then somebody drags you into stuff, and then you start to see what it looks like for a kid that has a blueprint at home, to where their dad or their uncle or somebody has already played this. They went to DeMatha. There's 4 generations at DeMatha. There's 3 generations at prep. There's 2 generations here and there. And you're in the midst with all that. And those kids carrying a different energy, but you not knowing that you're really one mental perspective switch from being ahead of them, even with the extras they have, right? But you get with the wrong adults, because again, you're as kids. I remember, like you said, having the wrong people in your mind, and I think about it all the time, to where there was moments to, like, just 1 or 2 pivotal moments to where an adult influenced my decision to do something that I look at like I didn't necessarily feel right about, but I didn't know any better. But it shifted the trajectory, and I had to find my way back in. We talk about Coach Thomas all the time. I mean, I remember Coach Thomas telling me that I wouldn't play varsity. I remember him telling me which one of my peers specifically was going to play, and I wasn't going to play. Like, I wasn't a varsity player. And at that time, I don't know, most likely he was doing that to push me.
There's 2 things. He was, 1, is psychological warfare.
Yes.
1, to motivate you.
Yeah.
And 2, he's telling you the truth.
Facts.
If you don't work hard, you won't make varsity.
Right.
So he basically did you a favor.
For sure.
For later on in life.
For sure. And then the flip side is that when I think about that is, I know he's pushing me because the season before, that year that they had Mike Davis, all of them, that whole time, because I was a freshman, that whole time I was in the summer training every day with Coach. But I had some older people in my background who were kind of against Coach Thomas because he was new in the era and everything. And Coach Thomas always kept a young buck on the team.
Yep.
And at the time, I was probably the only young guy playing with a Nike-sponsored team, not knowing what that meant, still trying to find my way. But I remember these guys telling me, look, just take this 1 or 2 months off and let's do this computer class here, and then you'll train with this Nike guy that we know from the side or whatever. Don't worry about Coach Thomas. We'll handle him. Coach Thomas don't work that way.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so that 2 months of me not being there with the team and not doing things, that changes everything. That changes, that takes me down as a player. That changes my mindset and stuff. And so I look back at all that and it was like the struggles I had with my confidence was really an indication of like where I was getting my guidance from.
Yep.
And so now when it comes to what the experiences I've collected, when it comes to basketball, whatever, it's like, all right, you're not always going to be dealt the hand that you want, but you got to find an opportunity within the space that you're given,
Right.
so that way you can climb yourself out of it. Because I even look back at college and I'm like, man, I know why I went there, but going to that school, if basketball was, really what I wanted to do further, I knew I wasn't going to get better basketball-wise with what I needed there. The coaches I had beforehand, and then the one that I ended up with, he was a good guy, but basketball-wise, he couldn't teach me how to be a better college player or a pro, potentially. I was stuck teaching myself how to do that, right? But throughout all those lessons, I always learned how to make sure I could get on the court.
Right.
I can make sure I can get on the court and make sure I can get on the court and be successful. So I learned how to teach myself because I was taught how to work beforehand. And so now I can tell a guy that like, hey, you might not like your circumstance, but one thing about basketball is if you put the work in,
Right.
eventually it's going to come, right? And just like with GMs, we may need better strategy or whatever. I swear, every basketball game we won in college, my time, we won because the players won it. I can't think of one time when I was like, yeah, we won that one because of coaching and preparation and all those things. And all of the coaches in our conference knew that, right? But when I say that, I'm like, okay, you can't come to me complaining about what you couldn't have as a player, because the one thing you do always have is 2 good hands, 2 good feet, and a ball in the gym as long as you're in school. So it's just going to be about how you can do it. So in hindsight, that helps me now giving guidance and saying, look, we can't take excuses for things because, yeah, I went from playing with the top guys, Oladipos and whatever, to being here. But I made sure that I gave myself a chance through all of those things, right? And then I learned how to build confidence through work.
Yeah. Yeah, the work.
Yeah.
The work that you put in, man, that should be the ultimate confidence booster right there, man. Just I'll be damned if I take 500 shots every day.
Yeah.
And then, I go in and then, I'm afraid to take a shot and get bumped at. Like,
right. Exactly. And there is, because like I sit back and look all the time and I'm like, yo, like I know you had these moments. It was like, yeah, there's a few things that if I had this extra, like I always joke with you and be like, yo, you left me hanging. If I had you for a little bit more in a couple of those summers, I would have been able to jump this way. But I look at it and I'm like, I made sure that I put myself in a position because I worked harder. But I see what the difference is when somebody has an adult behind them that's already seen a vision that could push. Because you can only see but so far for yourself.
Right.
Right? Like my wife tells me all the time, she's like, you don't know the way other people see you or the way that they can see where you can go. Because we look at young bucks now, certain of our guys, and we're like, oh, you can do some things. You don't have no clue. Right? But luckily for them, we're the right ones to be there. But you didn't always have that right one. And so somebody talk about getting to the league or getting to the pro or getting a D1 scholarship.
Just getting any scholarship.
Yes, because luckily for me, I did go to school and majority of mine was paid for because of basketball and stuff.
Because this is something that everybody needs to understand. Even though it's 2022, and you graduated in
2015. Well, yeah, undergrad 2015.
2015, okay. Me, 96, 97. People don't understand that we're first generation college kids.
Yes, true.
In our family, that's big. Mm-hmm. So everything is, this was the first time this grass has been stepped on.
Right.
Right. So everything's new.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what makes it so interesting to watch too. Because I got so much respect for those guys that are doing it for the first time. Right? They don't come from a place where my uncle played here, or my dad was here, and they don't have like the pedigree or the blueprint to just go. They're just working off of pure passion and hard work.
Yep.
And their own wild imagination to where it's like nobody else believes it, but I can see it clearly. Yep. So I'm just going to keep going, right? Because that's really gangster. Yep. That's really gangster, how to get it. And then again, if you fall short of that ultimate goal, look where we landed.
Right.
Right? Yep. Even with the mistakes and the issues in between, like, because we kept working and because whenever we were allotted an issue, we didn't stop. We just found a way to solve the problem, or we didn't quit. Now we're here.
Yes. Right? So we run into obstacles, man, and some pretty big obstacles before, independently in our lives or collectively now. And we're not gonna go in the corner and ball up and cry. Mm-hmm. We're gonna figure it out. Me. I'm a big talker, so I might, while I'm working through it, I might be complaining.
You got it, because you got to get it out.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we're not gonna just stop and then move on to something else. We'll work through it, and we give it a legit shot until we get to the point where we say it's just not worth it.
Right. Because we know, like when basketball, with games of runs, yep. Right, you can be in a rut for 2 or 3 games, and then one night you come out because you just been persistent, yep. And you might hit those 2-3 in a row that set you up for the rest of the season, yep. Right? But you just got to keep pushing through that because you never know. There's some things that you can control that's going to happen, but there's always something that's going to happen that was out of your control, right? Mm-hmm. Like me, I had a blood clot issue in my eye and lost the sight in my left eye while in prep school. I didn't know that was going to happen. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I was getting boxes and boxes of letters, like prepared to go to D1 or the Ivy League or whatever. But I didn't know I was going to be on blood thinners or whatever. But through the trials and through what you learn and through good guidance, you learn that you can't control that, right? And so, yes, it feels bad, but you know what you do have a resume of is work. Yep. And you know that if nothing else makes sense, you know that if you do this, something good is going to come out of it. Right? And so that's where parents come into space. Because right now, we're with kids, and we're with young kids that are in very interesting time in human history, period, mm-hmm. Right? And when it comes to technology, when it comes to like the pandemic we're having, when it comes to amount of information that's out there, information that is out there for parents and kids, good, bad, the ugly, the real or the fake.
A lot of fake.
But it's a lot that's out there, and it's a lot of stuff that's misleading. And just like with everything, we got to get back to the foundation, the fundamental, what's always going to be there, right? And what we're running into is a lot of like social media guided parenting, or a lot of like what I call like those hot articles, psychologists say this is the new way to do this, or scientists say this is the new way to do that. And, you're seeing a lot of kids making a lot of decisions for themselves when they're not ready for it, right? Or a lot of kids doing a lot of quitting, right? And a lot of kids not really being put in a position to kind of be hit with adversity and have to keep working through it, and kind of, seeing how those changes. And we deal with that every day.
Right.
Right?
The social media world today gives all of the kids so many different options to pivot and do something different if it's not to their liking. And that's just not how the real world works, social media is going to continue to evolve, but the inner dynamics of how the world works is not. I mean, there's going to be bumps in the road every day. Yeah. But you can't just turn around and find a different route. Sometimes you got to go over that bump. I'm sorry. And, you just can't, as a parent, and I know some people say, well, you don't have kids. Well, I do have kids. I've had over 600 or 700 kids.
Right.
You cannot be afraid of your kid to fail. I'm sorry. You should want your kid to fail sometimes, especially in an environment with people that you can trust.
Yes.
Because you know that those people are going to give your kids the proper encouragement, and that necessary push to continue on, and that's going to help them in other aspects of their life. Mm-hmm. And you just have to be willing to say, you know what, it didn't work out for you today, but there's always tomorrow. Yeah, and that let them dust themselves off and try it again.
Yeah, and it's like it is so hard too, because I was just talking to somebody today, just trying to partner with our company. And everybody's looking, when it comes to brands and stuff, everybody's looking for a story. Right. And like when I'm telling people, and you've prepared me for this because I get excited with things. I got idea after idea. You told me like, don't tell them too much because one, they don't really understand, and you might wake up tomorrow and they done stole your idea. Yeah. And then two, it's like we gonna get it done regardless with or without them. Yeah. So just to see where they at first. And I found early on, I found myself kind of like defending us because parents don't know what they're getting when they look at us, right? And rightfully so. Yeah. So you got to earn their trust. Right. And so like that's the number one way our business has really grown because we put an emphasis on making sure that they can trust us as people because these are your children, right? Not a marketing scheme or anything. And the one thing that's helped is because of our story. Yeah. Right? Like our relationship is embedded over a decade, and everything that we're telling you guys is because we've lived it. Yeah. And on the back end of that, too, is what most of the people that are doing what we do here, they don't have even the experiential background that we do. You know what I'm saying? Like college educated, 20 plus years in education system. Both of us time in the mental health field as well, and then mentoring as well. So on top of the basketball knowledge. So when we're trying to tell somebody that like, look, not only do you have an older guy, you have a guy that's younger too, who also relates better to your child than you would when it comes to all the social media stuff. But we're telling you like, we get all these other things, but right now you're crippling your child, right? Giving them too many options early. Yes, you want to give your child autonomy and give them confidence, and yes, but you also need to make sure that they understand that yes, while the world is changing, you are, no matter what, are going to run into roadblocks. Yep. You are, no matter what, going to run into issues where you're going to have to figure them out on your own. You're going to run into people who are bigger and stronger and a little bit cooler than you, and you're going to have to figure out how to find your voice around them. How else can you do that? And what other controlled environments can you do that? Where you got two adults that know how to massage that relationship with the kids and you're getting better at stuff. But how can you do that, but then you're allowing your kid to quit whenever they say, hey, I just want to break? And we deal with this heavily in Dubai. Yeah. Like, we're going to the beach this week. We're going to his night. We live on beaches. Yeah. You live on beaches. And
you can go to the beach any day.
And quiet as kept, a lot of these kids are going to grow up because they've been here in Dubai and they're going to be like, I want to leave. And when they leave, they're not going to be prepared. Yeah. They're not going to be ready to do anything in these other different Western civilization is dictating everything. So your kids are going to want to grow up and get out of Dubai, and they're not going to be prepared for it.
It's the good and the bad, man. The good is that there are so many different options for kids here.
Yes.
The bad is just that, when you have too many options and you have flexibility to jump from one to the other.
Right.
What are you really gaining from each one of those options?
Right.
And, I feel when you're a kid, your only job is to go to school.
Right.
So you have the opportunity to do a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. And once you commit to something, at least see it through. Mm-hmm. At least see it through for the short, for the term or whatever, the short time. Just don't waste your time, your money, your energy, starting something and then not finishing it because, you want to see where it leads.
Yeah.
And, and I'm not just saying this because I believe in what we do, but, personally, I think in terms of sports, team sports, I don't think your kid could be in a better place. I mean,
man,
just
especially
truthfully speaking.
And then more so now than ever, kids in this generation, Gen Z and all those other kids, they need to be interacting with people more. Yeah. You think about this, your children have sat and done 2 years of schooling online without any social interaction. Typically, kids growing up, we spend more time with our peers than we do with our parents when it's time to go to school.
Yep.
That's how you learn how to interact with people. That's how socially you become comfortable. That's how you know where you're going to go and stuff. Right now, I mean, we got kids who parents are saying, man, I'm finally seeing their personality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally seeing them, reaching out, getting more confidence, talking more, and all these other things. But it's like, yeah, you got to put them in that environment and allow them. So, this is a space that's a little bit different than what we're used to at home, right? At home, there's not enough resources. There's not enough things for kids to do. There's not enough places for them to go. But here, sometimes we see, rightfully so, you've earned the money that you've got to be able to have these things. But like, you're just putting kids in each activity. Go swimming, go tennis, go piano, go build robots, go do this. That's all great, because whenever I have a child in the next 30 years, for sure, we're going to do all those things too. But what are you missing?
Right.
All of those kids, they're just going from activity to activity to activity. They haven't connected with the human. They don't know how to deal with conflict when dealing with the human. They don't know how to work through a problem with somebody else. They don't know how to not be good at something and then keep working at it
and see improvement.
And see improvement and being like, they don't know how to say, all right, I'm going, that's the goal. Coach King, Coach Ryan said, this is the goal. I'm at 0 right now. I gotta work and see myself get to that goal, right? And stick with it. But instead, it's like, they ain't feeling it today. Well, that's cool, but how is that going to help your child today?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's just us. What do we know, right? But it begs for the last question, right? Within this same thing, is like, what would help, especially here, with helping the kids grow, right? Like, what's the perfect balance between allowing them to make their decision and then you putting your foot down? Because my mom, she definitely raised me to be my own thinker, right? To be my own self, but she also made sure I didn't quit just because I said I wanted to stop doing something, right? So like, what's that perfect balance between the two?
I don't necessarily know the perfect balance. One of the things I think that would help is that coaches here stop. Not every coach. Don't get me wrong. Not every coach, but we're going based off feedback from parents, feedback from kids, and our observations as well, and of course talking to various coaches.
And we'll say coaches around the world. Period.
We gotta, especially in the States, we gotta start taking these jobs a little more seriously, because even though you may be coaching the grassroots level and you may not be making a lot of money, your job is very, very important because you're impactful to somebody's, livelihood later down the road. You can kind of dictate how that person will interact with others. Mm-hmm. And so when you treat your job working with kids as just a job, then a lot of times the kids feed off that. And, and what they receive from you guys, they send it out in the universe. And, you got to take more responsibility and say, hey, I got to be more engaged with my kids, for that 1 hour that I'm with them, and give them the best experience that I can, so that way, one, they'll stay engaged and they won't think about quitting.
Fact.
But once they start to enjoy it, start to build trust in me, now we can add more things and start to build their platform a little bit better. And I think it starts from there, man, because, when there is a situation where we have a kid who's thinking about quitting because they don't think they're good enough, or maybe they think that it's too easy, and they have no idea that we're at the beginning stages. We're just making sure everybody's getting the fundamentals down right and everything. We'll go out and talk to the parents, and we'll find out what's going on, whether we've heard something negatively or not. We're just going to check on our client base because we want to make sure they're okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll end that with saying it takes a village.
Yep.
Right? And understanding that it's like, my mom, I know firsthand, firsthand, my mom, she needed help raising me because I was a handful, right? When I got to a certain space, I was all over the place, and not in a bad way. I was just seeking, trying to figure things out, and I needed different opinions from people of different spaces. So, one, I was blessed to have people who took it seriously, right? I was like, okay, she's handing her son over to me, so I'm going to do what I can to make sure that happens. And then two, my mom understanding that, all right, those three are good. I have no ego here. I know that they can give something, so I'm going to let them give, and I'm not going to get in the way of that. And so it takes a village. So allow that village to develop, and who knows what happened. Because again, we have to use the experiences that we've already collected to help guide that next generation, because they're going to be trying to figure it out every day of their lives through everything. So with that, I think it's perfect way to end. So, we're here, episode 15. Good number too, right? A good number. We're almost 15.
That's a lot. Man, we're moving.
Yeah, we are moving in the midst of just in there thinking about what's coming up next. So some cool stuff will be coming. But as you guys know, it's post-game wrap-up time. I'm over here trying to find mine that I had saved up. But OG, what you got for the sound off?
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, why I always gotta go first?
Because I know you always got something in.
Why? So are you insinuating that I talk too much?
Nah, you've been doing post-game wrap-ups since I was a player. Locker room games, you've been doing it professionally, matter of fact. Like, I'm new to this. I don't come in with the practice plan yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to write it.
Yeah, this dude, man. Shut up. So anyway, this my post game, pertains to our current Hoop Mountain Hoop Stars. We talked to you guys recently about we're going to be selecting certain players to play in certain tournaments and play in certain games, whatever. And we talked about the aspect of working hard each time that you guys come to practice and doing some work on your own outside of our practice. Well, one thing I want you guys to think about is, can you legitimately answer this question truthfully and not feel as though that you're lying? Are you working hard when no one's around? That's how you determine whether or not you're really serious about getting better in whatever sport that you're participating in. A lot of people can work hard when somebody's barking at them all. And you guys know that myself and Coach Ryan, we bark at you guys all the time because we're not going to let you waste your time. We're not going to let you waste your parents' hard-earned money, and you're not going to waste our time because we believe in you guys. But how hard do you work when we are not around? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And that's something that pertains to many, many things outside of basketball. And that's something that can help you later in life. Absolutely. I'm going to take us into that business entrepreneur vibe. Anybody that got a dream about anything, look forward to the challenge and then be prepared to make things work with the lack of resources. Right. Sometimes you got an idea and it may take more money. It may take more this or that. Part of that success and part of that journey and a part of that sweet taste of victory at the end is knowing what you did in the middle to make things happen when people weren't there to support or people weren't there to help back you up. So look forward to that challenge and don't look at a lack of resources as a reason to stop. Just a reason for you to get more creative and find a way to make it work. Because in the end, what that's going to do is build character. And when it's time for you to really blow up and grow and put things together, you'll be an even better leader for it. So look forward to that challenge and do what you can with what you got. The rest will come. So as you guys know, that's episode 15. Look us up on Instagram, BTG Nation. Check us out. Like, comment, subscribe, everything. HoopMountain.ae, HoopMountain.dxb. Subscribe. And as always, keep it real, keep it simple, and keep going.
Just tune in. You already know, G. BTG Nation, the other ones in the nosebleeds.